What does it feel like to lose everything?
It's like losing myself, like everything. It feels like having been subjected to violence. The things that we lost, I feel like I lost them through an act of violence. You can't buy something that is going to take the place of that relationship.
I can't go in there and buy a bunch of pearls and then expect it to have the same energetic vibration as my grandmother's pearls.
I lost all my journals, all of my sketchbooks, lost the guitar. It was literally the difference when I was 14 between me being a responsible, happy adult and committing suicide. I cannot let this event win. I cannot let this be the thing that brings me down.
I'm going to ask you the question everybody's asked me. What does it feel like to lose everything?
It's like losing myself. Like everything, like my entire, it's not like I didn't lose my entire identity, but I lost foundational pieces of it, enough of the foundational pieces that I have to figure out what pieces are broken and missing and figure out how to replace and regenerate those. So I feel like an incomplete puzzle now.
Yeah, and for our listener, Christopher Wesley is in the same boat as I am. He is also, and Christopher, are we fire survivors or are we fire victims? Have you figured that one out yet?
I try and use the word survivor more than victim, but I feel sometimes like a victim. It's a role that I have to actively try and narrate in my mind to keep me from going down a dark hole.
You lost your house in the Altadena fire, and we lost our house in the Pacific Palisades fire. So we are brother and sister in this catastrophic event. And when we prepared for the show, you and I had some conversations about that a catastrophic event does something to a person. Can you put that in words for our audience?
It feels like having been subjected to violence. Like the things that we lost, I feel like I lost them through an act of violence is probably the best way to explain it. That sense of trauma, that sense of not feeling that safety and security that I used to have, both in being at home, but also in possessions. Like I don't buy a lot of things anymore because there's a part of me that says, what's the point? Do I even want this? Do I care about this?
I have these things. I lost all my jewelry. My mother had just given me all the family jewelry. And I really long for a nice necklace because and then every time I go in a jewelry store, I look at the stuff and then I get really upset and then I can't do it and then I run out. How do you experience this idea of, because we have a right as per our insurance, at least to some degree, to replace some of the things that we have lost. How do you handle that?
I remind myself, like I have the initial reaction, which is usually visceral. I see something and there's that reaction that I used to have it and it was taken from me. When I can get on the other side of that, because it's quite often a process to get to the other side of it. It's not something that happens in just a minute or two. Sometimes it's a couple hours, depending on how meaningful the thing is that I lost. But we have relationships with these things. And no matter what anyone says about it's an inanimate object, there are things that were burned that we have relationships with it beyond like the utility of it. They meant something to us. And that part we can't replace. You can't buy something that is going to take the place of that relationship or that can just step in and be that thing that you got from your mother.
Truly. Or grandmother's pearls, right?
Your grandmother's, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't go in there and buy a bunch of pearls and then expect it to have the same energetic vibration as my grandmother's pearls really had. So do you think this is us surviving, or are we transforming? And
Definitely transforming.
Yeah.
There's there's survival in it. It's not clearly defined difference in identity. On mornings like this morning, when I read Edison will put lines underground, but they're going to charge us $10,000 extra to do this. Times like that, I feel like I'm surviving. And I have to use my mindfulness techniques and change the narrative around that, around my role in it, to transform. Because at least for me, I cannot let this event win. I cannot let this be the thing that brings me down.
I want to go back to when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
You said, like we were not there. And I think in some beautiful grace of God that we were spared the trauma of seeing it all burn. You were there. So you have a different trauma than I do. Take us through these crazy 15 minutes that made all the difference in your life.
So it was about 8:30 at night. My wife and we were sitting in the living room streaming a show. I don't even remember what it was. All I know is, we finished the show. We're getting ready to go to bed. She went to her office and I went back to the bedroom. And normally I don't have my phone with me, or I don't pay attention to it. Just before I was getting ready for bed, I'd say, well, let me just check my messages. Check the messages. A couple friends had texted asking if we were okay with the fire. And I don't remember exactly what the text was, but it made me go immediately to the front of the house. Like this point, I'm in the back in our bedroom, walked all the way to the front of the house, and standing in the living room, 2 feet away from where I was just watching TV, I look out the window and I can see the glow. At that point, I'm guessing it's maybe 2 miles away. At that point, I didn't deliberate. I immediately called Pat, said, my wife, Pat, and said, we got to get out of here. We got to pack stuff. And my first thing I got was the fire safe, and then grabbed our wedding photo from off the mantle. And she was grabbing her stuff. We were kind of doing our own thing, grabbing things. She was packing her car. I was packing my car. After we got about 2 trips in, we paused enough to notice the house to the right of us. They were evacuating as well. But there's a woman that lives across the street from us that's, I want to say, in her 70s or 80s. So we always look out for each other. So my wife went across the street to make sure that she was evacuating because we didn't see any evidence that she was. I went to our next door neighbors to the left of us, didn't see them actively evacuating. Knocked on the front door, no one answered. Went to their rental. They had someone renting the back house. Went back there, he didn't answer. So I then came back to our house, made 2 more trips packing the car. And amidst all of this, we were dealing with the hurricane force winds. So the wind was kicking all things around. There was always the feeling of threat that it was going to bring a tree down, either on top of us or on top of our cars. After we finished packing the cars, I asked my wife if she wanted to follow me or me follow her. I made a determination where we would rendezvous if we got separated. That was down in about South Lake area. She wanted to follow me, so I took us down the street. First cross street, I looked down it before committing. I didn't know, whether there were trees that were down. I still had a question whether the winds were carrying embers over our head and starting fires on the potential escape routes. So every time before heading south, I would always check the street. And then we headed south and just kind of meandered our way down, sometimes having to drive around obstacles, around trees that had fallen. On the way down, I was calling people, other people I knew in Altadena to make sure they were evacuating. My Pat was on the phone with one of our friends. They live in South Pasadena. They offered for us to stay the night at their house. So we drove down there that night and spent the night there, not really sure what was happening. About 6 a.m. the next morning, we were getting calls from the fire detector or the alarm company, telling us that the smoke alarm was going off. At that point, I still was hopeful. I having been around wildfires before, not close to us, but when the air is really bad, you can still smell the smoke in the house. So that was my initial thought, that it was just really smoky. We found out about 6 hours later that the house had burned down.
I know what this feels like, unfortunately, and the impact that this has on your personal life, the way you feel, your trust, the grief you feel is so overwhelming that you don't even know. I mean, in my case, my brain was trying to find an event to compare it to, and there just wasn't any. It felt just...
Can't think of one either.
No, right? Now I want to talk about storytelling, because you are a storyteller. Tell us a little bit about what you do with storytelling professionally, and then how are you using what happened to you to help other people in their storytelling now?
So professionally, I write fiction. The best way to describe it is a Game of Thrones meets the modern entertainment industry, as if told by Alfred Hitchcock. In that world, my protagonists are always regular people forced to do extraordinary things. And I drew on my training as a storyteller. I spent about 4 years with a private storytelling mentor. The initial days right after the fire, we wound up in Rancho Cucamonga, which, for those that don't know the lay of the land, we're about 2 hours away, depending on traffic, from where our home had burned. And before the fires, there was a housing shortage. So my initial thought was, I have no time to feel the things I'm feeling right now. I have to take care of all these things. And I have obligations and responsibilities I need to meet, but I also have to figure out, how do we get into a place like now before everyone else gets out of shock too and we can't find a place to live. So we immediately started traveling back and forth, trying to find an apartment. And my wife would be in the passenger seat looking up listings, and she'd find a listing. I'd put it in Google Maps and drive there. I don't know how many places we went to, but we were blessed to find the place that we finally did. But initially the storytelling was that for me. It was at the beginning, right after the inciting incident. The protagonist is always trying to solve. He's trying all these different things, and he's going to fail. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. So that helped me take action, because I understood that me making mistakes and not being perfect was okay. What was necessary was that I start taking action now.
So you're the protagonist in your own story, and you're not just do you consciously acknowledge that, but you also adapt the traits and give yourself permission to be the person you normally write about. How beautiful is that?
Yeah, I wouldn't have chosen it since it happened. Yeah.
No, it certainly isn't. And you also said you are an artist, that,
yes,
not just did you lose all your journals and the pieces you wrote, you lost a lot more than that, all your art.
Yeah, I lost all of my artworks, including sketches from high school, some pieces that were created during some of the hardest parts of my life that had very, very significant meaning to me. I lost the guitar. I'm also a musician. I lost the guitar that was literally the difference when I was 14 between me being a responsible, happy adult and committing suicide. I lost all my journals, all of my sketchbooks. I had a studio in the home, a recording studio. I lost all that, all the gear. There's so many things. The list just goes on and on.
You work as a transformation coach through storytelling. So how has this now affected the way you shop? And I want to add one more element that you had shared with me, which both of us share, is how other people show up. So now we are in this catastrophic event that you have no control over. You're doing the things that you need to do, the protagonist in your story, just making the impossible happen as quickly as you can. But then other people show up for you, and then you somehow need to incorporate in your work. Tell me that story.
So yeah, it does depend on where the person is at that I'm coaching, but understanding story helps me understand where they are in that journey. Typically in storytelling, we always hear about the hero's journey, and that is just one of 6 character archetypes. So I understood that what I was going through here, this was not the hero's journey. And that comprehension helped me position myself, I guess, in my mind what I needed to do. So depending on where the person is at in their life helps me determine, is this the hero's journey, or is this, say, the maiden's journey? It's a king or queen arc. And from there, I help get a sense of where they're at, where they're coming from, where they're trying to go, and then coach them through using basically storytelling aspects to help them get to the next thing. Because sometimes, immediately after the fire, finding a place to live, that was just the next thing. I had no capacity for anything beyond just finding a place to live. So for clients, it is sometimes as simple as they just have to get to that next thing. If they lost a job, what is the most critical thing that needs to happen? Do you have to find a job right now, or do you have resources that give you time and space to recraft what direction you want to go in?
Did you recraft the direction you went in?
Yes.
How does that feel now, 10 months after all of this happened?
Sometimes good. Sometimes I'm finding resentment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that the deep grieving definitely has gotten better. There's more moments of happiness, or where you can at least see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then a moment later you're just smacked into the ground and you can't handle it.
I think, and that's one of the things that I bring to clients is the understanding that none of this is linear. It is absolutely messy. Mm-hmm. And giving space for them to feel what they need to feel. Because I did take the time myself to feel what I needed to feel, but I did so after the critical things, this has to happen. We have to find a place to live. It's right now I know people that live 20 miles away, and it's difficult for them to get back to anything they need to do here. I didn't want that. So take care of the most critical thing. And then after that, I gave myself the space to feel what I was feeling. During the critical time, I was paying attention to what my wife was feeling. So I was kind of taking care of her more so than me at that point, or taking care of her and us.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I felt that my husband took it a lot harder than I did. And there was just no room for me to give in to that. And then once I felt he was stable, then I crashed.
There was a movie where there was a quote, and I don't remember what movie it was. And someone asked this older gentleman, actually, I don't remember if it was the gentleman or the husband or the wife, but someone asked one of the couple, what is your secret to success? And the answer was, we only crash one at a time. Something to that effect.
That's actually true. Did you kind of do that intuitively? And It just wasn't even a thought.
Because of the way I grew up, I'm one of 10 children across 5 marriages. There were 6 in total, but one didn't produce children. I always knew I wanted to be married. I'm different about that. Like, I guess as a male, by the time I was like mid-teens, I understood that I wanted to be married. So I've always paid attention to what are the things that would help me succeed in being married once I found the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So this was wisdom picked up along the way somewhere.
That's beautiful. I love that. I want to shift this a little bit around the experience of receiving.
Yeah.
Because something tells me that in your work and through the storytelling, that a lot of your focus was before this on helping other people. Has that changed? Have you changed?
Not in that. When life kicks me down, I've learned that part of my self-care is I build systems. And so I built a system around understanding how do I take care of myself? I created archetypes for like my resilience type. And by understanding those things, it's something I can keep going back to when I kind of forget, when something is bad enough that it causes me to kind of forget myself. And through that, I understand my resilience archetype I call it spark bringer. So I turn my tragedy into being able to hold space for other people. So there was always a part of me that understood that by going through this and understanding that natural disasters are just going to keep happening and becoming more and more frequent, this gives me a special capacity to help other people. Like shortly after we got settled, I went into therapy, and the woman that was doing the counseling for me, she had never been through a wildfire, but she lives in New Orleans and had been through Katrina. So she was able to help me in a variety of ways that aren't specific to wildfires, but is specific to surviving natural disasters and navigating FEMA, insurance companies, and all of that.
How did you manage other people reaching out and wanting to help and support you? Was that easy or difficult?
It was easy-ish. That is a muscle
you totally avoided that question. Easy-ish.
It's something, it's a flaw in myself that I'd recognized it some years ago. So it's a muscle that I had been developing over time to be able to accept. Because for years, decades, and most of my life, I was not able to really accept help from other people. It was, I'll figure it out on my own, but I will take care of you. So by the time this happened, I was in a position where I was able to accept people doing things for us and looking out for us, and to actually express if someone said, I had someone that I didn't expect offer, well, we know that your Keurig had burned, so, we want to put a pool together and buy you a new Keurig. For me to say, yes, could you please, was the work of years of effort prior.
Amazing. This is so interesting to me that, and that's why I wanted to bring this up to help our audience. Like, if you hear this story now of Christopher saying, well, his coffee maker, the Keurig, burned, and somebody offers him to replace it, of course you're going to say yes, because you had one, you loved it, it burned, somebody wants to help you, you say yes. But the reality is
that I could have done that 10 years ago.
I know. It's like, what is it about this? So is this one of those lessons or the learnings or the gifts that comes out of this for you? To accept more?
Definitely.
To expect more?
Yeah. I would say yes, that's true. Because I wouldn't have, if without having gone through this, if someone had just given me a hypothetical, I don't know that I would have given the answer that I don't know that I would have, in my mind, projected myself behaving the same as I did after having gone through this event.
No, it changed the way I give. It changed the way how I give. It changed the way how I respond to other people's personal disasters. It has changed how I accept things, what I allow, and also what I ask for. So it's actually very liberating. How do you feel about this now?
I feel the same. It's forced me to grow in ways and areas that I wouldn't have chosen.
Neither you nor I know any of the 17,000 people whose structures burned would have chosen that. But what I like about our conversation today is that we talk about something we both understand, and we actively looking for the silver lining, the learning in what has happened to us, and then how do we transfer that in our work? So now, how has this affected how you work with people now, today? And talk to us a little bit more about how you can help people.
I'm able to hold space much better, able to be more attentive to some of the nuances of different problems people are facing. I'm always creating systems. So one thing, the easiest way to work with me, I provided a link to take the resilience archetype assessment. And after you get the assessment, you can download something that tells you more about your archetype and specifically how to withstand natural disasters, how to come out on the other side based on your archetype. And there's a link on that PDF where you can book a palette of possibilities call with me, and then we can go deeper into what it is you might need and how I might be able to help you.
Beautiful. And this is really for people that are experiencing personal catastrophes or natural catastrophes on any level. This is not just you have not had to lose your house in a fire or been part of an earthquake or hurricane. There's all kinds of fires and hurricanes that don't include the actual natural catastrophe.
Yeah, I've come across quite a few people that were just laid off in the past 2 weeks.
Yes, and that might be your natural catastrophe in trying to figure this out. Christopher, this has been a really insightful and I feel deep conversation about talking about deep loss and resilience and transformation, and how we have this desire, or at least you have this desire, to turn this into something teachable to help more people. How do you feel about what it's done to you? Are you better?
Yes, because I feel I have to be. I cannot allow myself I can't allow this to rob me of my future. Because, the biggest thing I wanted, kind of like John Lennon, when I got older, I wanted to be happy. And, it's not something that happens on accident. I'm finding joy in life. And I did not want this fire to rob me of all my future joy.
That's beautiful, and that's a powerful place to stop our interview for today. Thank you so much for doing this. I know, as somebody who has to talk about this a lot because people want to hear about it, it is re-traumatizing to do so. So I appreciate you allowing me to take you there, and I thank you. And of course, you have a bright future ahead of you because you are the one creating it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And that is it for us for today. If you know someone who is going through a personal catastrophe or a natural catastrophe, please share this episode and help us get this word out to more people that are experiencing this deep sense of loss or loss of self. Thank you so much, and until next time, and goodbye. That's it for this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, Founders of the Future. If you're done playing small and ready to build the future on your terms, subscribe, share, and help us reach more trailblazers like you. And if you're serious about creating, growing, and scaling a business that's aligned with who you are, schedule your Uncovery session at uncoverysession.com. Lead with vision. Move with purpose. create your future.